Hi, I'm Jodie from Me Again Therapy, and more frequently I'm asked how I became a hypnotherapist. And quite a few years ago I used to have a different role. I used to be an operations manager for the UK. And I used to travel quite a lot up and down the country to visit stores and to visit the office. And I loved my job and I loved the people I worked with. But as my responsibilities increased over the years, so did the stress that came with it. And I think stress is a really interesting thing because you can either feel it very high and very low, or it can be so gradual that you don't really notice it at all. And soon I accommodated that level of stress to a point where I don't think I really recognised it anymore. And I think that's where my body and mind took over, forcing me to stop and rest. So it would have been at the end of probably another 10 or 12 hour day, and I was driving home on the motorway and I had a panic attack. And I'd never had a panic attack before, so I didn't really realise what it was. But I felt this surge of energy starting in my chest, really start and almost flow out of my hands. And in that moment, I had this fixed belief, this fixed fear that I would pass out and kill myself and everyone else on the road. And from that moment onwards, every time I got in the car, I was really fearful that I was going to crash it and I was going to kill myself and everyone else on the road. And I think what was interesting about it is that although initially it was fixed to the car and I was worrying about getting in the car and I was worrying about whether the car was safe or what the weather conditions were going to be, and I was really starting to question all the thoughts I was having. The anxious thoughts that I was having were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and soon I went from being able to drive 300 or 400 miles a week to being really anxious to even drive a mile. And even when I wasn't in the car, my thoughts were always about thinking about driving. And although at first it was specific to driving, when those thought patterns, when that irrational what if catastrophizing thinking started bleeding into other areas of my life, and I started to second guess every decision I was making, I knew I had to take action. Now, I don't know why hypnosis was the answer for me, but I'm so grateful that it was, because it actually led to a new career. And what was really interesting, that even when I was in hypnosis, I was thinking to myself, I could do this. I know I could do this. I think I could be good at this. And so I spent the next few years learning a lot about it and developing and training. And I eventually left that day job and became a hypnotherapist full time. So I've got a lot to be grateful for. But what I'm most grateful for is that I can now get back in the car without even thinking about it. You know, those thoughts, those things that used to consume my mind no longer bother me. So if you're curious about hypnotherapy, or if you want to find out a bit more about my story, then you can go to the website Me Again Therapy and you can read up more.